Father, go back.
Unless you've been living under a rock, you will know that Carol Ann Ford has actually returned to Doctor Who in the role of Susan Foreman. Although we don't actually know why or how. But what I can say is it was a fantastic surprise. Like, what a nice way to bring a character back. A bit random that it was during the Interstellar Song Contest, but I kind of like the fact that she just crops up out of nowhere. Like, you're not expecting it at all. The hype, it's there. But it still leaves us with the burning questions of why is Susan seemingly calling out to the Doctor? How does this tie into the Rani'S plan? And is Susan a space baby? Yes, you heard me right. We'll delve into all of that in this video as we try and crack what on earth is going on with Susan. But before we do fully jump into the Susan discussion, it's that time of week again, isn't it? The viewing figures, the overnight ratings for Doctor Who's latest episode, the Interstellar Song Contest, are out. And it's fantastic news. The Interstellar Song Contest by far has the most viewing figures of this latest season. TV Zone UK says Doctor Who receives huge boost thanks to its primetime slot, up over 1 million on last week. This is almost like doubling. I mean, it's not quite doubling if you can do maths well, but if you can't, it's basically doubling. Well, no, I think last week got 1.7 or 1.6 or somewhere around that mark. It might have even been 1.4. We'll look at it in a moment fully. But yeah, it's a big improvement. It beat anything on ITV during the evening and was double its direct competition. So here are the overnights for the other episodes. Episode 1 got an overnight of 2 million. Just a quick recap for anyone who doesn't know. An overnight figure doesn't include anybody who watched on iPlayer. It doesn't include anybody. It's basically no Disney Plus, none of that. It is entirely just the people who watched it go out live on TV that evening. So anyone who was tuned into BBC One at 7 o'clock, that is the amount of people that watched. Obviously, the 7-day consolidated figures come out later in the week, so we'll just have to wait and see what those are like. But yeah, the overnight viewing figures for Episode 1, 2 million, Episode 2, 1.6 million, Episode 3, 1.9 million, Episode 4, 1.5 million, Episode 5, 1.6 million, and Episode 6, 2.6 million. Like, that's a big increase from the rest of them. Now, as ever with these videos, I've got to be fair and I've got to look at it from an analytical, logical perspective. This isn't purely just because people wanted to tune into Doctor Who. This is a far inflated viewing figure because people were already tuned in. Just before Doctor Who, there was a big football match. Somebody who knows anything about football will be able to tell me what that was in the comments. But there was a big football match that people were interested in watching, so there was a large audience already on BBC One. Furthermore, directly after Doctor Who, there was the Eurovision Song Contest, which also will obviously have drawn in big crowds. So people will maybe have left the TV on, or they'll have been sat there and they'll go, oh, we might as well watch Doctor Who in between the football and Eurovision, which I think it's a clever idea from Russell and team to put this episode with the big revelations in such a big primetime slot. I'm glad it got aired. There was always the risk that it might not actually get aired if football had to go into extra time. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see for the consolidated figures, but it's good news. Doctor Who had a high week. High viewing figures. Let's just hope that some of these people that watch carry over into the finale. But with that out of the way, Susan, what's she doing here? Come on, Carol, what's happening? Now, the first theory here, right, is, look, you've got the Rani'S come back, the two Rani'S, and Susan both in this episode. Surely they aren't separate events. Surely they're connected. What if, because we don't yet know the Rani'S plan, what if the Rani'S plan is to somehow bring back the Time Lords? We know that the Time Lords had this sort of, it's described as like a ripple effect across time and space. I think they say in the Devil's Cord that whatever the Master did to Gallifrey, the death particle, all of that jazz, it wiped out all Time Lords. So how is Susan back? Well, as I say, I don't think it's a coincidence that when the Rani, another Time Lord, makes her return, so does Susan. The Rani's plan possibly involves bringing the Time Lords into our reality, or maybe if we're tying this in with the gods, the Rani wants to elevate the Time Lords into gods using her, like, genetic scientist powers, because at heart, she's a scientist. I feel like that should be the Rani's slogan. At heart, she's a scientist. A morally corrupt scientist, but a scientist. Maybe she's fascinated by these gods and wants to put their powers into Time Lords. But then the only thing with this is it a little bit too similar to the End of Time, where Rassilon's plan is to bring back the Time Lords and make us creatures of consciousness alone. But maybe she's following on in the footsteps of Rassilon. Maybe Rassilon is actually the other member of this unholy trinity. You've got the Rani, you've got Conrad, you've got maybe Rassilon. We're continuing Rassilon's plan from the End of Time. Something along those lines. And maybe Susan is being brought back with the Time Lords and is sending a psychic projection to the Doctor to try and warn him, to try and help him. Or there are other possibilities, okay? Because that one may be a little far-fetched. She could be another trap. Now, the only thing that stops me thinking this is last year we had Susan as a trap to lure the Doctor in to reveal a big classic villain. So, would they do the same thing again? Probably not. I mean, it was Susan Triad last year with the like, oh, Susan's coming back, what's going on here, what's going on here? But yeah, could she be a trap? Could this be like a projection by the Rani or whatever to influence the Doctor? I mean, he was certainly acting he was acting out of character a bit in the latest episode. So maybe whatever psychic projection's going on in his head is making him more angry. Maybe the Rani was deliberately fueling the Doctor's darker side by putting images of his granddaughter who he's lost into his head. But I think that's unlikely. Now here's a nuclear theory. A theory which would make people very angry, I imagine. But what was the first episode of this new era called? Might you recall? If we're not counting Church on Ruby Road, episode 1 of series 1, season 1, Space Babies. Now what does that remind you of? If you look at that title, and then look at the first ever episode of Doctor Who, Unearthly Child, Space Babies, they're kind of like the same thing, but put through a Google Translate. When you think about it, an unearthly child and a space baby, they're literally, that's the same thing, just said differently. And who was the unearthly child? Susan. Now, if the connection stopped there, this theory would probably be dismissed. But who else has appeared as an apparition to help the Doctor and Belinda, like literally last week? Captain Poppy, the space baby. That's two unearthly children that have cropped up, psychic projected themselves to help the Doctor and Belinda along. I mean, we know for a fact that kid is Captain Poppy from Space Babies last year, and we know that Anita Dobson has said that the Space Babies tie into the finale. So, how on earth's that all gonna work? What if the babies are sort of the Rani's experiments, or some form of Rani trying to manipulate Time Lords, as I suggested, maybe making Time Lord babies into gods, and Susan ends up being Captain Poppy. Like, Captain Poppy is Susan when she was a baby, which in a way is really sweet, because the Doctor has that moment with Captain Poppy where he's like, you're special, and you're really nice, or whatever he says. Is it gonna tie back? Like, Susan, Poppy, are they the same person? Maybe not. But I think the connection's there. All the pieces aren't in place, but Unearthly Child, Space Baby, Captain Poppy, Susan, they're fulfilling the same sort of functions narratively. What's going on there? Now, there is a bonkers theory out there as well that Susan is going to regenerate. No, Belinda is going to regenerate into Susan. I can't see that happening. I mean, people have given a lot of reasons. I mean, Belinda seems to know what a TARDIS is without the Doctor telling her. And I mean, Susan's the one who claims to have come up with the TARDIS acronym all those years ago. So is there something there? She also doesn't seem to question the Doctor on regeneration. She just sort of accepts it as if she maybe knows. Is she Susan? I mean, Susan's coming back. I don't think so. I don't see so. And our final theory, which I hope it's not, well, there's kind of two aspects to this. One, she's in the Doctor's imagination. The Doctor just wants Susan back, so he was picturing her, and she's not going to crop up again. I think, come on, she's got to crop up again, surely. Surely. The other option is that she was just there for the sake of the story. I really hope that's not the case, and I really hope it wasn't just a cameo, like a fun little bam, here's Susan. I mean, it was nice to see her again, but you've got to give her more substance. So, which theory are you subscribed to? Why do you think Susan's back? How do you think Susan's going to play into this season? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video, as ever, please do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Really helps me out a lot. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official Confused Adipose YouTube channel.
I will destroy you! She's not seen a single episode.
No, I've watched your episodes.
Keep these sonic screwdrivers.
What else am I saying about the film? Don't watch this one.